Hey everyone. Welcome to Dangerous Werewolf. Are you brave enough to step into the perilous world of werewolves with me? Here, we'll uncover the secrets, face the fears, and explore the thrilling and dangerous aspects of these mythical creatures. So hold on tight and let's start this wild adventure together. Prologue. For my entire life, I was bullied verbally as well as a little physically, though not too serious. But all those moments were when that big, bad bully humiliated me in front of everyone. My pride and ego were practically thrown away the moment I was humiliated. Yet my parents and my brother thought that he was doting on me, hence he paid so much attention on me. But I hated him so much. You're right, dote on me. More like make me suffer 10 times more. He called me names, like literally harsh ones after I've turned into a woman when I was 14. He labeled me as a slut, whore, hoe, and many more. And this got the attention of many males in my school who practically tried to hook up with me, even though I was trying my hardest to protect my virginity. I wanted to safeguard my car for my future mate, yet he never allowed them to get near me. If they ever did, they would have to face his wrath. It was so ironic. He bullied me, yet he was so possessive. What the hell was he trying to do? I don't know, and I don't even want to find out. As for any other day, he would pick on me relentlessly until I was damn frustrated. I mean, I didn't even offend him in the first place, but he kept on picking on me. When I had gotten myself a new school bag, he deliberately snatched it from me and hid it somewhere where there would be a lot of dirt, saying that pink was a girly color for me. And that got me pissed for a couple of days that I ignored him. But he would always try to break down these walls, making me look so vulnerable in front of him. I hated it a lot. I hated to be seen as weak by him. The other day, my brother had gotten me a new sundress. However, it ended up tattered and worn out because he said that it was too childish for me. I should wear oversized sweaters to cover my ugly body. God damn it. Since when did I need his nasty comments? But the most unbearable thing he had done to me was to beat up the guy whom I had a crush on. After that incident, he didn't talk to me. Neither did he even dare to look at me. However, my anger was slightly appeased when news traveled that he was going to be away for 2 years to attend Alpha's training. And damn, I was so elated when he was going to leave. When he left, I was the only one who clapped the loudest while all the pack members were sending him off in a not-so-happy mood. That got me grounded for a week because I was supposed to be feeling sad to see him leave, instead of gloating over it. I mean, come on. I was bullied for my entire life and he was finally gone. Why would I be feeling sad? The night before he left, I couldn't sleep well, not because I would miss him, but because he was going to leave for the whole years. At least, he wouldn't be there when I shifted into my burgundy wolf on that same year. Otherwise, he would tease me endlessly when my wolf came out smaller than other average she-wolves. However, I was faster and more agile than other wolves, which gave me an advantage. And I was not afraid of getting defeated since I was constantly topping the charts for each week ever since training started. Alongside my brother, we were the best pack fighters since we also had beta blood flowing in our veins. Besides training as pack fighters, I discovered singing as my talent and formed a band with 3 other musically inclined friends who were like me, werewolves. I am the lead vocal. Maya is a guitarist. Jessica plays the piano and Rachel plays the drums. The 4 of us usually played together as a band in competitions as well as in school performances. It has been almost 2 years since this band was formed, which means that the jerk was going to come back from his alpha training soon, and I was totally not looking forward to it. Especially when his ferocious orbs kept casting glares at me when he was about to leave for his trip. It was as though he was telling me that he would be back for me. Snap out of your thoughts, Eve. Rachel stated, smacking her drumsticks together to catch my attention. I raised a brow in response and murmured, "What?" She rolled her eyes, The Alpha 2B is coming back in for months' time, and the Alpha has requested us to perform a few songs for his party. My eyes enlarged almost instantly, choking loudly as the cooling liquid rushed down my throat. You've got to be f***ing kidding me. Maya and Jessica laughed instantly, since all three of them knew about my story, while Rachel merely smirked. Whether he has been a jerk to you for your entire life, you're still going to sing at his party. Can I pull out? She cut me off with a stern glare. The Alpha's orders, not mine. You wouldn't want to disobey the Alpha, do you? She taunted with a knowing look, knowing that I would never dare to reject the Alpha. Otherwise, my mom would ground me for a whole month. The heels of my palms kissed my forehead as I leaned forward and groaned aloud, not caring if it caused an echo throughout our practice room in the basement of the pack house. FCK My Life. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. 4 months later. The 4 months in the practice room was unbearable. They kept teasing me endlessly about that jerk, and I had to suffer in silence, even though I really don't want to sing in his party. Why should I? But when the Alpha has requested, it becomes a no-rejection case. If we do, we might have to face his wrath and suffer in front of the whole pack, which was probably the last thing we wanted to happen to us. It has been for months, and I just have to endure for tonight. Today was his arrival, and most of the pack members were busying themselves with the preparations. Some of the unmated she-wolves were pampering themselves just to land on his bed tonight. He was still the same, a player and the sex god. A huge banner was hung up in front of the pack house with the words that irked me the most. Welcome back, Nathan. Just the mention of his name made my wolf restless. And so do I. I have a bad feeling about this. Perhaps the bullying might turn even worse. God damn it. I can't even imagine what will happen to me when he comes back. As I sat there pouting, Maya waved a hand in front of me with a raised brow. You ready? We're doing the final practice for the covers. I nodded in response, clearing my throat as I reached out for the microphone. For the 3 covers we have chosen to perform in the party tonight were Happy by Pharrell Williams, Stinium by David Guetta, and Lean On by Laser. And it was meant for that jerk whom I hated so much. To be honest, I have made plans to move out of the Peck house once I have graduated from high school. Which means lesser chances to bump into that jerk. More freedom. I don't mind at all if this was the only way to get myself out of his clutches. He's nothing but trouble. On the count of 3. Rachel said, pulling me back to reality as I realized that we have a practice to continue. I nodded, counting to 3 as we began practicing the covers kinks. I punched the punching bag hard, shooting my leg out to hit the surface while my posture was firm and steady like I have been taught since I was 16. There might be a possibility where I have a chance to spar with that jerk, but I wasn't going to let him get the best of me. He had successfully made me weak and crumbled right in front of him in the past, but I swear that the old Eve was already gone, replaced with a fighter in her. That jerk was going down. My nose flared with anger as I continued to punch the shit out of the bag, ignoring the huge amount of stares thrown in my direction. Fist tightened. It collided into the surface with all my strength and hate towards the jerk. If there was one thing his bullying had benefited me, and that would be making me stronger. He attempted to make me weak, but instead it forced me to bring out my will to become stronger. With one last strike, the material burst and broke apart. I gaspedly, moving backwards at the sight. I just ripped off the punching bag again. Sorry, Dad, I ripped off the punching bag again. I linked my dad with a sheepish smile. God knows it was the nth time I have ripped off the bag in rainings again. Again. That was the 20th this month, sweetie. He replied back. I could literally hear him sighing right now, since he would have to pay for the damages I have made in the train room. Sorry, Dad. I cut off the link and bent down to grab my clean towel. As I wiped off my sweat, my eyes wandered around the room, only to see Joe, my best friend, shaking his head at me as he winked. Instantly, I winked back with a little flirtatious demeanor, even though we were just kidding. a male friend to flirt jokingly with and not take it seriously. How good is that? And he was never serious when it comes to trainings. Surprisingly, though, he was an excellent fighter when it comes to wars, and that made him cool. I smirked, rolling my eyes at him before exiting the room as I headed to the kitchen instead. I needed a drink to quench my thirst right now. Chopping of meat was heard from the kitchen while I peeked my head in to see Jenny, the pack's head cook who was cutting the meat silently. "Jenny," I chimed, approaching her while she stopped to look at me. "Hey, Eve. Here for a drink?" she asked while I nodded, smiling brightly. She walked towards the fridge and handed me a fruit punch with a knowing look. "Heard you ripped off the punching bag again," she barked out a laugh while I chuckled lightly. How the hell did news travel so fast? I waved at her before getting out of the kitchen as I drank the fruit punch. The cooling liquid sliding down my throat was always so refreshing, especially after a good workout in the training room. The rogues had been going low profile these few days, perhaps preparing for a huge attack. I heard my brother's voice as two buff figures entered the house. I squinted slightly at the light pouring in through the door before adjusting to the brightness. When my eyes opened, I found myself looking at the guy who was the last person I wanted to meet on Earth. Nathan. Yet my wolf kept howling inside of me, yipping and yapping like a child. Matt's by my fated mate. Lights flashed around me and my wounds spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. "Piper." My wolf howled in delight while I froze instantly at the word. "You've got to be f***ing kidding me. That jerk turns out to be my mate." Chapter to Chapter 2. I was standing there like a deer caught in the headlights with my mouth left agape. That jerk was my f***ing mate. He stood still, shoulders tensed as though he felt the same way. "Max Spidey, my fated mate." Lights flashed around me and my wounds spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. He growled, looking straight into my eyes while I gasped. The first thing I did, which was what a victim does when she sees her bully, was to run. Even though I tried to be strong when facing him, but the fact that he had grown so intimidating actually scares me. I ran faster, letting my legs carry me until I reached the balcony where I used to go whenever I was feeling troubled. Gripping onto the metal railings tightly, I screamed loudly, "I hate you, Nathan Skies." I screamed with all my might, venting the anger and hatred bottled inside of me for years. I can't believe that my mate turns out to be him. I have been waiting for someone who would treat me 10 times better than him, but my hopes seem to have turned into puffs of smoke. Why, Moon Goddess? Why did you pair me up with someone like him, Eve? I closed my eyes briefly, feeling the anger yet to be diminished as his voice rang in my ears. My grip on the railings tightened in response. Footsteps continued to approach while I turned around and glared at him. "Don't come near me." I snarled, feeling my eyes turning pitch black while my nose flared in anger. "Eve." He repeated my name again while my wolf howled inside of me in excitement. I internally groaned at my excited wolf. You have no idea how he had bullied me for my entire life. Don't expect me to forgive him so easily. I said while my wolf was disheartened at the fact that I was not going to acknowledge our mate. I felt sorry for his wolf, but I wasn't sorry for him. Folding my arms, I attempted to appear strong under his intimidating stare. "This is so f***ed up, Nathan," I simply stated, rolling my eyes in rage. "What are you suggesting? Are you going to leave me?" he demanded while I ignored how his piercing stares made me feel uncomfortable. I sighed. "You should consider rejecting me, since either way we won't be happy." With that said, I walked past him to the hallways instead. Even though I knew the price of rejection very well, but I wanted to break free from him. I might end up dead, or suffer an unknown disease in a few months, but I don't care. I just want to be away from him, the jerk who made my life a living hellscape. I sat down on the bed, My eyes trained on the floor while Maya, Jessica, and Rachel were preparing for the party. Even though we were a band, but they were also women who liked to dress up. I do too, but I wasn't in a mood to dress to impress anyone, especially not the jerk. My chosen outfit was already spread on the bed, just a graphic tee and dark wash jeans. The girls, however, were wearing button-up blouses and shorts. Ignoring their excited giggling and chattering, I lay down on Rachel's bed and groaned in despair. Nathan is my F-king mate, and I was going to sing for my mate tonight. Can't things get any better for me? Hey, Eve, aren't you going to do something to your face? Jessica looked towards me while she was busy painting her nails. I shook my head in response. I am keeping my face bare. Are you F-king serious? She asked while I closed my eyes. Do I look like I am joking with you? More painting. Less talking. Please. I retorted back, covering my eyes with my palms in frustration. Seems like that a hole of an alpha, too, makes her really mad. Maya's voice lingered in the background while the girls giggled in response. I smirked. You said something sensible for once. Marak Spidey, my faded mate. Lights flashed around me and my wounds spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. Peeling my eyes open, I climbed out of the bed and changed into my outfit. By the time I was done, the girls were already ready. I walked out of the room after zipping up my boots with the girls in tow as they chatted excitedly over the stupid party. If not for this party, I would be staying in my room all night. I would gladly miss this chance to meet the jerk. Pushing past the door, we entered the porch where everyone were already gathered and has begun partying. I weaved my way past the crowds and finally reached the platform where we would be performing. I reached for the microphone, whipping my head back to check if the trio were ready. As they took their time, my eyes found its way to the crowds to see my brother's arms wrapped around a brunette chick. Brother, I can see you from here. I linked him while he looked up, smirking as he waved at me, while the guy beside him stiffened as he looked up. I blinked furiously, looking away upon seeing him. God damn it. Why were they still great friends? Can't they just stay away from each other, so that I wouldn't have to see his face every time? The band started playing while my feet moved to the beat, my voice escaping from my parted lips. Throughout the songs, I tried my best not to look at him, but the scent was too overpowering for me. I just can't help but to let my eyes wander to the crowd where he was standing. His eyes locked with mine while I sang the upcoming lines to my heart's content. What will we do when we get old? Will we walk down the same road? Will you be there by my side? Standing strong as the waves roll over when the nights are long, longing for you to come home. All around the wind blows, we would only hold on to let go. I pulled my eyes away from his while I sang the chorus, my heart tearing apart as I couldn't spend the rest of my life with my destined mate, the one who would protect me and care for me. Nathan and I were impossible. Even if he wants to work things out, I will never let him have his way. He can rot in hell for all I care. Blow a kiss, fire a gun, we need someone to lean on. Blow a kiss, fire a gun, all we need is somebody to lean on. Blow a kiss, fire a gun. We need someone to lean on. Blow a kiss, fire a gun, all we need is somebody to lean on. I closed my eyes when the song was over, placing the microphone back in its place as I turned to leave. Claps erupted from the crowd while I ignored them, entering the pack house instead. Walking up the steps, I turned down the corner when I was suddenly pinned against the wall. My eyes widened as Nathan hovered in front of me, his fingers gripping my wrists tightly. What the FCK does he want? Chapter 3. He leaned in, nuzzling my neck with his nose as he panted. My shoulders tensed at the contact as I stiffened. The way he panted was as though he was in hunger. What the FCK do you want? Nathan, I demanded, closing my eyes briefly as the contact sent annoying tingles down my spine. I struggled from him, pushing him away with all my might. He wrapped his arms around my waist, firmly capturing me while I groaned in disgust. Instead of yielding to him, I hit his hard, rock chest with my knuckles, scornfully whining in discomfort. His chest was a F-King rock. I don't care if he was going to be the alpha or if he was my mate. He should F-Kinged it the hell away from me. Stop struggling. Eve, he growled, his eyes turning pitch black in anger. And what are you going to do about it, Nathan? Resorting to violence when you can't get what you want. Immediately, I regretted what I have said as it made him even more angrier. Yet the badass persona in me was trying to resurface and lash out at him for everything he has done. When I was a young, innocent girl playing with dolls, he forced himself into my life and bullied me. When he can't get the things he wants, he would resort to violence, even though it was not directed at me. After 2 years, I was sure that he would still slap me or push me onto the ground when he can't get what he wants. His temperament and lousy anger management still remained the same. He growled, slamming his lips against mine while my eyes widened incredibly. Swiftly, I pushed him away and slapped him. Jerk. I screamed, tears rushing down my cheeks in shock as I turned away from him and headed back to my room. I quickly locked the door the moment I reached my room, covering my lips as tears fell freely. That jerk kissed me. It was so infuriating. He has no rights to do that after what he has done. Skanks, I wanted to stay in my room forever. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the case. My stomach was already growling by the time the sun hit the sky. Since I have a morning shift at the Foot Ruffle Courtesy Center later, I might as well wash up and have breakfast instead. Rolling out of the bed, I stifled a yawn as I entered the bathroom in a sleepy state. Chugging down the mug of water, I brushed my teeth before washing my mouth. Drying my face with a hand towel, I stretched my limbs and quickly got out of my room as I headed down to the kitchen. I pulled open one of the cupboards and took out a loaf of bread and placed it on the island. Spreading some strawberry jam onto the bread, I stuffed it into my mouth and began chewing away just as someone entered the kitchen. My brows furrowed deeply at the sight of him coming down topless. He yawned, nussing his hair before his eyes rested on me. I turned around, placing the bread back to its place but finishing my breakfast. As I washed my hands, he cleared his throat to get my attention. Eve, about last night, he started, but I cut him off with a bemused expression. I don't want to hear anything from you, I said, moving past him to the stairs. Footsteps followed behind while I walked even quicker to my room. Eve. He called out, running after me as I turned down the corner. Wait, Eve. He stopped me just in time before I entered my room. Instinctively, I yanked my wrist away from his grip and glared at him. What do you want? He stared at me with intensity in those dark orbs. Eve, I don't want to reject you. I want to work things out with you, he stated firmly. I scornfully laughed at his words. Work things out with me. You and I both know that it's impossible. Nathan, just don't get the high hopes on this mate thing. Before he could get a word out of his mouth, I slammed the door in his face and huffed in anger. Idiot. Skanks, I massaged Mrs. Darlington's foot, providing foot ruffle courtesy service on her bare foot while she relaxed on the armchair. I worked in the Foot Ruffle Courtesy Center part-time on weekends and full-time during school holidays. After graduating from high school in a few months' time, I have made plans to continue working in this center and move out in a month or two. I would be able to live my own life well without having to worry about when Nathan would annoy me again. Ever since he returned from his alpha training, things just got a whole lot more worse. If I have a chance to rewind, I wished I had never met him. The door swung open to reveal a customer while I murmured a welcome and got back to work. Giving her fee a wash, I quickly finished my job and stood up, wiping my hands with a hand towel. I turned around to call upon the next customer, only to see Nathan approaching me. I internally groaned, silently cursing my brother for telling him that I worked here. I will deal with him later. I forced a smile since I have to be professional at all times. How can I help you? I asked, conjoining my hands together. You work here. I am sorry, sir. If you are not here to get a foot massage, I suggest you leave through this door, I said, turning around to serve the next customer. Wait, I am getting a foot massage. At his words, a thought entered my head. Seems like this is the best time to get my revenge. I am going to make him go through hell. Chapter 4. I waited for him to sit down, my hands busy making him comfortable. I set a clean towel over his pants and poured water in the basin where his feet rested. My hands reached out for his left foot as I began to massage it. My knuckles made contact with his bare foot as I applied pressure on it. I started out slow, letting him adjust to the pressure. He groaned in delight, throwing his head to the back. A smug smile was turned on my lips as I applied more pressure on his foot. His groans went louder as his eyes peeled open, looking at me in shock. I kept the smile this whole time, my eyes watching him as my knuckles busied itself, bringing immense pain for him. Can't you go any softer? He wheezed out, holding a pained expression. I simply replied, I know what I am doing. Feeling immense pain is normal, sir. Smugly, I applied even more pressure on his bare foot. I watched as his scream filled the center. Many heads whipped towards us in surprise. He covered his face with his palms and clenched his jaws tightly. I withheld my urge to laugh, focusing on my task at hand. This was my revenge. Okay. I am done, he suddenly said, making me pause as I watched him getting out of his seat. He limped his way to the counter and paid for the service before walking out of the center. He groaned in pain as he exited, holding on to his leg. I shook my head, laughing at the sight. Finally, I have gotten my revenge. He has bullied me for my entire life. Now it's my turn to return the favor. But this time, it will be 10 times more. Skanks even thinking about it made me laugh out loud. I sat down on the dinner table, waiting for the rest to join us for dinner. What is so funny that got you laughing? Mom asked, raising a brow in amusement. I smirked. I did something that I have been wanting to do for a long time. I don't like the sound of that, she pointed out, looking at me skeptically. I shrugged casually, winking. You will know in due course, Mom. A groan erupted from behind as I turned around to see Nathan limping his way towards us. Alpha followed beside him as they took their seats at the top of the table. He took his seat opposite me while I bit my lips to stop the urge from laughing again. Instead, I covered my face and looked away, trying my best not to laugh. Evelyn, are you laughing? Alpha Vincent asked. I raised my head to face him and shook my head. No, I am not. Alpha, I replied coolly, looking towards Nathan as he glared at me. He must have figured out that I was exacting my revenge on him. I rolled my eyes in response, watching as my brother walked down the stairs as he bro-fisted Nathan. I looked away, playing with my spoon. How's your leg? Dude. He is twice stopped playing and tried not to laugh. Seriously, Eve, what's wrong with you? You have been laughing since just now, my brother asked, looking mildly pissed off. I looked up, shooting him an innocent look. I will tell you once I have figured out what's wrong with me. I casually shrugged. He shook his head and sat down beside him while I looked towards Nathan, who was staring at me intensely. I ignored his intense stare and played with my spoon. A dish was placed before me as the rest began to eat. I ate my meal, finding today's dinner better than any other day. Maybe I was in a happy mood. That's why. Throughout the whole dinner, I felt holes burning through my skull, knowing that it was him. but I chose to ignore it and date in a comfortable silence. Cleaning my lips with a napkin, I brought my plates along with me and placed them in the sink as I washed it. Drying them, I stacked them on the racks and made my way to the stairs. I might as well lay on my bed and chill for the night. Tonight, I will be able to sleep well. As I entered my room, the door suddenly closed behind me. I turned around to see him entering my room with a piercing glare. I gulped, taking a few steps back until my leg hit the bed. I gasped when I was pinned against the bed. He released a low growl, his intimidating orb still staring at me. "Nathan." I gasped, feeling his breath fanning my face. My heart somehow raced abnormally. I must be mad by now. What the hell was he doing to me? What are you doing to me? He whispered, his lips touching my skin gently. My eyes widened as I pushed him away immediately. "Get the FCK away, Nathan," I growled, my eyes turning pitch black in anger. I rolled off the bed and shot up, crossing my arms in rage. His hand touched my shoulder while I flinched slightly in response. He would touch my shoulder and apply pressure on it, making me yield in front of him if it was years ago. No way in hell will that happen again. "Don't touch me," I snarled, removing his hand from my shoulder in disgust. His hand fell off my shoulder as he sighed. His breathing hastened. His arms wrapped itself around my waist while I gasped in shock. "FCK off, Nathan," I hissed in anger, struggling against his iron grip. He sighed. "Eve, stop struggling." He continued to hold me despite my desperate wishes to get the hell away from him. "You have no f***ing right to touch me. Would you just FCK off?" I winced, kicking his leg as he yelped, grabbing it. I escaped from his hold and glared at him menacingly. "Let me repeat again if you have forgotten. Nathan, you and I can never work things out," I hissed in anger, pushing him out of my room. "And you better stay the FCK away from me," I screamed, slamming the door at his face. Chapter 5. The door opened as I snapped gruffly, "What else do you want?" Footsteps entered as I snapped my head up to give him the most piercing glare. Instead, it was my brother. I blinked furiously, mostly in guilt for letting my temper get the best of me. "I am sorry. Didn't know it was you," I shrugged casually, looking away. "No, it's fine," he said, making himself comfortable as he sat on the end of the bed. "Did you have an uninvited guest?" he asked. I sighed. "If I said it's your best friend, will you believe me? Why do you hate him so much?" I looked towards him in surprise. "I'm surprised that you have noticed that," I hissed with a menace glare. "You are one who doesn't care what he does to me." "What do you mean?" he asked with eyes wide as saucers. I rolled my eyes and sneered. "This best friend of yours has bullied me for my entire life. You are just f***ing blind not to notice. Same goes for mom and dad. All of you are idiots for not seeing through his true colors, Eve." He growled warningly, reminding me how rude I was. But I don't care. I was fuming in rage because of everyone who were to blind not to see how he has been treating me for my entire life. Just f***ing shut up and accept the fact that your best friend has been bullying your little sister, I snapped in rage, pushing him out of my bed. "Same thing for you. Just f***ing stay away from me until you have accepted this stupid fact." With that said, I pushed him out of my room and slammed the door in his face. At this pace I was going, my door would surely break down any sooner if they don't keep barging into my room and pestering me with all this shit. Annoying piece of shit's kinks. Closing the locker, I stuffed books into my tote bag and making my way through the hallways. My phone rang while I picked up with Rachel on the line. "Hey, Eve. How about a movie marathon in my room tonight?" I sighed. "Nah, I will pass. I have a pile of homework waiting for me." "Geez, I was hoping all four of us could watch movies tonight," she said with disappointment laced in her voice. I chuckled, shaking my head. Next time. Okay, see you again. I ended the call, sliding my phone into my back pocket as I wore my cap. The weather was getting so humid these days. It was literally killing me. As soon as I exited the compound, the sun was already melting my body into liquid. Sweat trickled down my forehead as I sucked in a deep breath, treading on the pavements cautiously. I groaned in discontent. If only I have turned 18, I would be able to get a driving license and get myself a car instead of walking back to the pack house. A car pulled up in front of me while I frowned instantly. Winding down the window, I realized that it was none other than the jerk. What the FCK do you want? I snarled, pissed off that my words fell on his deaf ears. Didn't I say I wanted to have nothing to do with him? Why can't he just listen? I don't want to start a fight with you. Get your ass in the car. I raised a brow in response. And why should I get in the car with you? I assessed back. Because I said. Just shut up and get in the car. I glared at him. You are annoying. I pulled open the door and entered, buckling my seat belt as he pulled out of the compound to the main roads. We fell in a comfortable silence, neither of us making a move to say anything. It was not like I would want to talk to him either. Breathing in the same air as him was already suffocating me, Eve. He started while I clapped my hands, catching air. There's a bug buzzing in my ear. It's so annoying. I hissed, pretending that I didn't hear anything, Eve. He repeated again while I looked towards with a raised brow. That's Spidey, my faded mate. What flashed around me and my wind spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. I snapped in annoyance, hating the fact that we were actually in an enclosed space without me running away from him. Why do you hate me so much? My eyes widened in surprise. Oh, you finally asked. I chuckled, sarcasm laced in my tone. He looked towards me with his eyes softening. That got me frowning in response. Don't look at me that way. I am not going to accept the stupid fact that we are mates. I glared at him pointedly. Eve, don't you find yourself being so petty because of the fact that I used to bully you? He tried to reason with me, but I found a better reason to rebut him. That's because you don't see it the way I am seeing it. How would you? A bully would understand me. A victim of how I felt when you bullied me ever since we were young. Eve, he was cut off by my raised hand. You made me so torn and broken in front of you. Nathan. You King made my life worse than hell. How are you expecting me to forgive you this easily when you don't even feel remorseful at all? And you're calling me petty because of it. What is this to you? Something trivial. I raised my voice, still glaring at him as the car came to a stop. You know what? I have always wished that I have never met you. Nathan. Maybe you wouldn't have brought nightmares into my life. I scowled, wiping off my tears as I unbuckled my belt and climbed out of the car. Without turning back, I continued walking down the pavements, my tears slowly falling to the ground. I hate him so much. I King hate him. Chapter 6. My pen steadily moved as I solved the question which I had been staring for the past hour. Mathematics always makes my life a living hell. With my tendency to procrastinate, it doesn't help either. I looked towards the pile of homework awaiting me as I sighed, quickly grabbing my calculator. Punching the buttons of the calculator hard, I tried to find an answer to my question but failed to solve it correctly. I groaned and sucked in a deep breath, deciding that I needed to take a breath. There was a knock on the door, followed by the door creaking open as my brother peered into the room. It's dinner time. Mom is calling you to come down. I nodded, chucking my homework aside as I got up from my desk. I stretched my stiff limbs, groaning aloud. Sitting down on my seat, I leaned my chin against my fisted knuckles as I closed my eyes sleepily. Had a rough day in school. Honey, Mom's sweet, soothing voice asked. I answered back. not peeling my eyelids open. The amount of homework is killing me. I just want to sleep for the rest of the night. She chuckled lightly as she placed something in front of me. The aroma of ramen filled my nostrils as I sighed as though I was in heaven. The one thing I needed now was certainly a good meal to recharge my energy. I snapped my eyes open immediately and dug in, slurping in an unladylike manner. Oh my God, this is heavenly, Mom. I muttered under my breath, filling my starving stomach to my greatest content. Chill, you are eating like a hungry wolf. My brother butted in while I glared at him. Excuse me, I am in a phase where I will snap at someone if I don't get my stomach filled with food. He rolled his eyes. Whatever. Shut up and eat your ramen. I snapped as I continued to stuff the thin noodles into my mouth. Anhan, this is so good. I groaned in delight, bringing up the bowl to my mouth as I finished up the soup. Slamming the bowl onto the table, I leaned against my seat and sighed in relief. I burped in an unladylike manner, covering my lips as I looked towards the jerk who was laughing at me. Shut up, idiot, I snarled, taking the bowl in my hands as I stood up. I returned back to my room and slammed my head against the surface of the desk. Homework again. I sighed, picking up the book where I last stopped and stared at it through droopy eyelids. Need help. It was a voice belonging to someone whom I knew very well. Besides, the scent drifting up to my nostrils has already revealed who it was. I am turning it down. Get out of my room, I replied, not turning around. He sighed. Are you still mad about what happened this afternoon? He took a seat on my bed, which got me annoyed incredibly. I was already frustrated with my homework and he just had to force himself into my life. I placed my book down and turned to look at him. Can you just get the FCK out of my room and do your things, instead of coming here? You do know that your presence is really bothersome, right? I snapped, sarcasm dripping from my words. Hurt flickered across his eyes as he continued to look at me. Does my existence really mean nothing to you? I rolled my eyes in response. The bully has the cheek to say that. Don't you treat me as a pest in the past as well? He stood up. You said it was all in the past. Can a bully change his ways? What he said was true as well. He has not been bullying me anymore. He has even apologized to me, which was something he has never done. But I can't help but to hold doubts about him. It was because of the mate bond that he was treating me as a human. He only wanted to heir for his lineage. What the FCK? I was almost duped by his lies. I stood up, snorting in reply. A bully changing his ways. I have heard of it. But you, I don't think so. You only treated me as a human being because I am your mate. Without me, you won't have an heir for your lineage. You think I am that stupid? My fated mate. White splashed around me and my wings spun with the beat of the heady techno music the DJ was playing. He demanded, hurt and disappointment visible in his voice. I crossed my arms with confidence, even though I knew that he was visibly shaking in anger right now. When he was in anger, he would do anything, but I don't care at this moment. It was time for me to stand up for myself whether he liked it or not. The door slammed open, followed by a growl. Enough. Immediately, I turned around to see the alpha standing by the doorway with a piercing glare. I think it's best if the both of you talk properly like mature adults instead of raising your voices in the pack house. I gulped. The whole pack must have heard our conversation. The fact that I am his mate was already revealed to the whole world. Oh God, how was I supposed to face the pack now? We sat down in the living room with the adults sitting beside us. Honey, why didn't you tell us that Nathan is your mate? Mom asked as she rested a hand on my shoulder. My eyes rested on the jerk the entire time as I replied, because I felt ashamed that he is my mate. His eyes hardened, just clenching in anger. I glared at him with a mix of hate and anger. Why do you feel ashamed of my son being your mate? the alpha asked coolly, though he was actually in a rage without showing it. To him, his son was just like his pride. Only if he knew how he has been treating me, maybe he would even reconsider his decision of handing him the pack. I replied with a gentle shrug. He has been bullying me for my entire life. For the 2 years he was gone, I have finally found the peace which I wanted. But the moment he came back, he turned my life upside down again. He looked towards his son with a hardened gaze. Is this true? The jerk surprisingly nodded his head in acknowledgement. I glanced sideways to note a shocked expression spread across my parents' face. I smirked. Have you finally decided to listen to your daughter when she used to say that she was always being bullied by the alpha's son? That he wasn't doting on your daughter, but was verbally and physically bullying your daughter for her entire life? They looked at me, completely speechless. Chapter 7 Eve. Mom's eyes flickered with emotions as she looked at me. I ignored her and continued. For my entire life, I have been repeating the same thing, but you guys just wouldn't listen to me. You guys just don't see it the way I do. Betty has been making my life a living hell. You guys are just king to blind not to see his true colors. Just because of what? Betty is the alpha son. I cried out, wiping away the hot tears quickly. Watch your words. If my dad chided. I won't, because you guys will never hear any of my crude words in this house again. I said, shooting up from my seat as I hardened my heart. I am going to start searching for a flat. If possible, I would want to move out by the end of this month. With that said, I walked out of the living room and headed back to my room. It's not like I would die without them because I won't. And I will gladly find joy without Nathan's presence for once kinks. Scrolling through the website, I glanced through the flats which were not too costly on the rents. I have found a few which were to my liking and within the affordability range. From next week onwards, I will be busy juggling between visiting flats and band practice. It's not like I will die either. As long as it was something that I badly want, I will try to get it. And moving out of the pack house with no more Nathan to annoy me was the thing that I badly wanted right now. The door creaked open as I sighed. I have nothing to say to you guys. Please leave. I was annoyed by the fact that my parents and my brother kept on rooting just to talk me out of it for the past few days. Why won't they see that I wasn't happy being in this sickening hellhole? Why can't they just stop clipping my wings and let me reach out for my freedom? It's me. I rolled my eyes and groaned. Nathan, just leave through this door. The last time you came in, I was on the verge of flipping tables on you. I stated, not caring about his presence as I continued to search through the flats. Don't bother to search anymore. I am not letting you move out. You are not even my parents or my brother. Even they can't stop me. Who the hell do you think you are to stop me from moving out? I hissed, trying not to raise my voice. I am your mate. Doesn't that give me a right to stop you? This sentence just hit past my limit. My patience has already came to an end. I closed the laptop cover and stood up, turning around as I faced him. I have enough of this mate bullshit. Nathan, you and I know that we can never work things out. So, why don't you just be the alpha's good son and deal with your pack business? You can focus on the ceremony instead of bothering yourself with someone like me. His nose flared in anger as he took a step forward. If you would just stop thinking about the past, you wouldn't bring it up. If you would just stop bringing up the past, maybe you would have let it go. If you would just stop dwelling over the past, we wouldn't be in this mess. Those are all ifs. Do you know how hard it is to let go of something, especially when it brings nightmare to you every night? Do you even know how it feels to live in worry because when you wake up, you would be humiliated by the bullier before you go to sleep? You would get videotaped for a prank that the bully has set up. Do you even know what nightmares are? You don't, because all of those were created by you. You are my biggest nightmare. Up to today, you still are. So why can't you just accept the fact that the past still affects me greatly? Even now. Even thinking about it still scares me a lot. He slammed his lips against mine as my eyes widened incredibly. His arms wrapped around my waist tightly as I gasped in surprise. Hot tears spilled down my cheeks as I pushed him away, slapping him in the process. Don't you dare kiss me with those lips of yours. I hate you a lot, and I still do. I walked past him and sprinted out of the room, shifting into my wolf as I kept running and running without a care for the world. Piper slowly took control as we combined our strengths and continued running down the trail where it led to the forest. We finally reached the clearing where a lake was becoming clearer in our line of sight. Even though Piper was repeatedly warning me that we were close to the south borders, I could care any less at this moment. Now, I just wanted to clear my mind. My paws slowed down as I leapt into the water and shifted back to my human form. I stayed in this position, curled up like a ball as I cleansed my mind. Why does the moon goddess have to be so cruel to pair me up with my bully? Why can't she pair me up with someone else who would be the total opposite from him? A kind, caring, and devoted mate. Is that too much to ask for? The tranquil water was blocking everything from being heard as I allowed peace to enter my world. It has been so long since I had peace without anyone bothering me. The pressure from my surroundings suddenly shook the calming water as a body dove into the lake. Chapter 8. My eyelids peeled open immediately to see Nathan in front of me as he pulled me up along with him. His arms slung around my waist and my thighs as he lowered me onto one of the stones. What the FCK do you think you are doing? My eyes widened incredibly as he lost his temper and raised his voice at me. What the hell was he angry with me about? I rolled my eyes. Like you would care. Nathan. Just FCK off. I sat up in astonishment when I realized that I was currently naked. Closing my legs, I covered my private areas while trying to maintain my glare. He sighed, removing his shirt as he handed it to me. I took it from him and raised a brow. Aren't you going to turn around so that I can change? He stood up and turned around, giving me the privacy I needed. When I had made sure that he wasn't looking, I quickly slipped on the shirt. The first thing that hit me was his scent. The whole shirt reeked of his scent, and it was killing me right now. Dark clouds slowly formed on the skies, sending chills down my spine. It looked like it was about to rain at any moment. This day just keeps getting worse. Immediately, I took off and began making my way back to the pack house. Footsteps followed beside me as he kept up with my pace without a question asked. I preferred it this way. Just peace and quiet. A moment later, rain began to pour heavily as we realized that we were stuck in nowhere. FCK. I huffed, feeling a tug on my hand as warm fingers pulled me along with him. I ran behind him, following him to wherever he went without intentionally provoking him. The last thing I wanted was for him to ditch me alone in the rain out of spite. I also needed to survive. After running for the next 10 minutes or so, we finally reached a shelter. I quickly got in and began to dry my hair to the best that I could. My eyes peered down to the shirt I was soaked in, pissed off that it was white in color. Couldn't you have chosen a black tee instead of a white one? I huffed in frustration, quickly covering my breasts as I closed my legs. He stared at me, his eyes twinkling with amusement. Whatever. Go ahead and laugh at me. Instead of laughing at me like I have expected, he got off from the ledge and wrapped his arms around my petite figure. What the FCK? I was cut off by his lips pressed against my neck. Just shut the FCK up and stay in this position. I won't look at you. I will just sit by your side until the rain stops. I froze instantly, still shocked at his bold move. You have gotten more bolder than I thought. No, I didn't. I'm just trying to be more gentle than I used to. I teased under my breath. I knew that it was the mate bond. Without it, you wouldn't have endured my bullshit. At my words, he seemed to have frozen instantly as he pulled away. My wolf whimpered at the lack of mate's touch while I scoffed in response with an effortless eye roll. He turned his back on me, leaving me hanging. Usually, he would have rebutted by now, hey. I nudged him, trying to get a reaction from him. He, however, remained stone cold, unmoving at all. Oh shit, what have I done? I gulped, parting my lips. Whoa, don't tell me that you are angry because of what I have said. I am sorry. I take it all back. Okay? When he still remained quiet after a moment, I started to panic. I really hate silence. To me, it meant that he would rather talk to himself than to me. Wait, why would I even bother so much whether he gave a shit about me? Shouldn't I be feeling rejoiced by now? You're right, Eve, he said, suddenly turning around as his eyes bore holes through my skull. Without the mate bond, I wouldn't have even tried in the first place. His brows were instantly pulled into a frown as he spoke the next sentence. But now, I'm sick and tired of trying something that will never work. With that said, he stood up and shifted into his wolf form as he ran off in the pouring rain. And just like that, he ditched me in the shelter after spouting words that I had been waiting to hear. But why don't I feel any happiness at all? Chapter 9. Sitting crossed-legged on my bed, I felt another sneeze coming as I covered my nose with the same tissue which I have been using for the past 10 minutes. I was down with a cold after the rain a few days ago. God damn it, he really left me after those words. But he wasn't that heartless enough since he brought back a few men to escort me back to the pack house. After that day, he never talked to me. He wouldn't even look at me in the eye. I have never felt so terrified in my life before. I was actually afraid that he would never speak to me anymore. I hate this feeling a lot. Achoo. I was so done with life. A knock on the door made me look up as I muttered a soft "comin'." Did I mention that I have lost my voice as well? Well, look at what the rain has done to my body. When there was no response, I climbed out of the bed and opened the door. There was no one in the doorway, just a tray with a glass of a weird mixture. I sniffed it and it smelled like a herbal medicine. I picked it up and decided to drink it, finishing it with nothing left behind. I left it on the ground and hopped back to my bed as I laid on it for the rest of the day's kinks. It seems to me that the herbal medicine has done something to my body that I didn't feel sickly the whole day. It was so effective that I have yet to find out who has left the drink by the door. My mom, Dad, and my brother denied it, so it wasn't them. Who the hell was the one who left it there? A snap of fingers snapped me out of my train of thoughts as I looked up without a clue. Are you even listening? Eve, we are going to perform on the prom night. That's by my faded Nate. Lights flashed around me and my wind spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. Prom night. I gasped, suddenly feeling wary that time was going so fast that I completely forgot that I was going to move out soon. The thought of moving out still stayed in my head, but leaving Nathan seems wrong. Even though I should be feeling elated right now that I was going to leave him and start my own life. However, my heart was against my wishes this time. Even my wolf was silently agreeing with my heart. What has that jerk done to me's kinks? My heart almost leapt out upon seeing the showroom flat in front of my eyes. This was the perfect flat that I have seen so far, and I was already falling in love. Is this flat the right one for you? That's by my sated mate. Lights flashed around me and my wind spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. My property agent, Max, asked. I nodded in excitement, smiling at him in glee. I will take this one. If it's possible, I would like to move in next week. No problems. That's Spidey, my sated mate. Lights flashed around me and my wind spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. I will settle all the paperwork for you, and you will be able to move into your new home next week, he said, shaking hands with me with a broad smile. As I climbed up the steps to the door was suddenly pulled open as my mom was shaking her head at me. "Your dad found out about you purchasing a new flat. He's hopping mad right now." I sighed, walking past her as I sat down on the couches at my dad and my brother. My dad was currently fuming mad as what Mom has described. "Evelyn Carter, I want you to refund the payment immediately," he said, emphasizing my full name. When he uses my full name. "But Dad, I have already mentioned that I am moving out. Why can't you see that I am not happy being here? Happy or not, your maid is here and this is your home," he stated through gritted teeth while I rolled my eyes in frustration. "Do you know why I wanted to move out of this hellhole? It is partly because of Nathan, and partly because of you guys. You guys just won't see how much I have been suffering living in here. You guys just can't get it through your head that your daughter isn't happy. So why can't you be more open-minded and let me go? How dare you lecture me? I am your dad," he bellowed, raising his voice at me while I continued to glare at him, holding on to my stand. I am not going to crumble in front of him. A dad would be able to see how his daughter has been suffering alone and would embrace her with his fatherly love. But you are not, and you will never be a dad of mine. I spat out in anger, shooting up from my seat as I rushed back to my room. I was so pissed off that my own dad was not supportive of me like how any other dad would be. I hate my life. I was so done with everything about this pack. What would it be like if I was just an ordinary human? Thank you all so much for joining me on this dangerous werewolf journey. I hope you had your hearts pumping and your minds racing. Don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and come back for more exciting and dangerous tales. Until next time, stay safe and keep that adventurous spirit alive.